Warm welcome to our panelists, organizations, and also participants. We can see 19 people have joined now. So thank you very much for all the organizations for joining this forum. We are trying to finish this in 1 hour. We are trying our best. Let's see. So this forum is on the recent upheaval of Gen Z protests in Asia, and how specifically we are looking at the aftermath of the protest, how the governments or regimes or systems are responding to them, mainly in the legal arena, and how respective countries are responding to them. So this is the intention objective of this forum, and also we tried our best to bring IMS partners together. Aftab, the Irada from Pakistan, Blast from Bangladesh, LBH Purse from Indonesia, and Media Law Forum from Sri Lanka. And hopefully, Bikash, your organization is also very much looking forward to work with us. We are happy to meet you online. And first of all, a big thank to Media Law Forum of Sri Lanka for organizing this event, for leading this discussion. And this is the first time we are putting these like-minded media / freedom of expression legal organizations together, and hope all organizations will take the lead in developing my dream is Asia Media Defense Forum, something like that, a collective of Asian media legal defense organizations. So this is could be a long shot, but I hope this will be a success with very vibrant organizations like Blast, Irada, Media Law Forum, and LBH Purse, who had been there for a long time, but without connecting with each other. So we are happy as IMS that we managed to connect these organizations. Without much ado, let's start our deliberations. The presentations or discussions are in 2 rounds. The round 1 will have country perspectives, specifically looking at dynamics of Gen Z protests in each country and how it has impacted on freedom of expression and particularly media landscape through the legal implication lens. So first round, we are talking about up until Gen Z or protest movements in your country, look through freedom of expression and media lens. We will give like 4 to 5 minutes to each speaker to explain this. I will be a very strict moderator on timekeeping here. I'm sorry, I have to tell it in advance. I will cut you off at 5 minutes because we have to save time. And then we go to the second round, where we talk about your organizational interventions, what you have done. That's the second round. What your organizations have so far done on this particular interventions, and also what are the future plans? What should be done? What should have been done? What are the best actions that can take in future? So these are the 2 rounds. We'll try to finish. The second round is about maximum 3 minutes. Try to concise, and then we'll open up the floor for questions. Usha, I think your mic is on, a bit noisy. Okay, let's try to start. We have fantastic team here. Manisha from Bangladesh, Manisha Biswas, a lawyer, human rights defender, very strong character from Bangladesh from the legal front. And then Indonesia, we have Jema Gita, also a legal practitioner from Legal Aid Center from the Press, LBHPers we call it. Nepal, to start on the first round, we have Ojasvi Bhattarai, a human rights lawyer and a very active participant in the recent Nepali Gen Z protests. And from Pakistan, we have Aftab Alam, Executive Director of IRADA, very senior legal practitioner from South Asia on media law. I should say you are a role model by yourself, icon. And from Sri Lanka, we have Dr. Viranjana Herath, the founding head of Media Law Forum. Now he's in Malaysia, participating in the GIGN conference, but he's joining us from Malaysia. So welcome. That was my quick introduction for 5 minutes. And then let me invite to start the round one with Manisha Biswas from the Blast. Manisha, tell us about the dynamics of the protest movement. What is the situation now? And what is the impact on the freedom of expression and legal implications? Over to you, Manisha.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for arranging this, and thank you so much for such lovely introduction of mine. Um, so to begin with, I would begin with some of the background that Bangladesh has faced during 2024 of the anti-discrimination student movement. So as we can see that our population demographic is half of the population is youth and under the age of 24. So when one of the main object of this movement was suppressing some of our voice, and 11 days straight blackout, where there is no internet, where there is no connectivity, and without these kinds of without these kinds of networks or internet system, this young generation managed to connect with us and articulate their messages to the mass people, and actually convey them so that everyone gather around with one demand, that fall of the regime. So that was a very clear idea of this movement, and one of the core object of this, because some of our voice was being suppressed by the regime. So when we are saying that when these mainstream channels are being illusionized or spreading government narratives all over again, and so the rise of social media, the rise of different agencies to talk about or to debunk the government strategies.
Manisha, give me a second. Give me a second. Can you switch off your mics, please? Mr. or Mrs. Fernando, we can hear your voice. Or Dulmini, can you switch off your other mics except the
Sure.
speaker, please? Yes. Go ahead, Manisha.
Yes, thank you so much. So when these mainstream channels are trying to settle government's narrative, the social media emerge and try to debunk the government's strategies, or try to debunk the narratives of the government. And this has become a separate agency to express some of our thoughts and some of our grudge as well, where government have been failed to acknowledge them or giving any actions in that sort. So when these kinds of circumstances were boiling or brewing around there, and after that we have seen the regime has fallen, and then there is a new regime, and the interim government, where the government comes with promises that the freedom of expressions will be the paramount thing to address, and there would be protections of the journalists, protections of the media house as well, and other things as well, where students would get protections, and the thing we have dreamed about, where the other regime has not done yet. So when this has been done by the protest, and the scenario has changed. We have seen that some of the legal implications and some of the law were tried to be amended. So first of all, when the interim government has taken actions, uh, they they tried to build a media reform commission, and then there are the other thing was that the repeal of the Cyber Security Act, which was the draconian law in our regime, in the perspective of journalist rights and media house. So with that, there was a hope. There still is a hope that freedom of expression would be the top priority, and people would not think to say anything that constructively criticizing the government. So having said that, when the freedom of expressions or the range or the ambit of the freedom of expression is the ambit of the freedom of expression is expanding, the we also now are seeing that the women in the civic space, the presentation of the women in the civic space are being shrinking because there are online backlashes, there what we say that cyber violences or mob violences that's being happening, and constant media outlet being vandalized by the peoples, and journalists are facing attacks now also. So then there come another aspect of that. Well, the reason of attacking journalists is that the people says that there is the censorship or ownership of the media houses, where the media houses set another narrative, set a different narrative, what people believe not true. So that's other thing that actually igniting this kind of mob violences and cyber violences in this space. Um, in that scenario, what we have seen that women are being also surprised by the
Mm.
people as well, when freedom of expressions, when they are trying to actually say the very basic things, when they are trying to say about in favor of the human rights and women rights
Right.
in general. So but the good thing is that some of the law have been repealed and some of the law have been amended and reestablished in that sort. First of all, the cyber protection ordinance has been introduced, where women's
Can
online
you finish in
harassment
30
against women is.
seconds?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Harassment being recognized, and then two other ordinance has been recognized. That one is Journalism Rights and Protection Ordinance, and then the Mass Communication Commission Ordinance to repeal the Press Council, the previous one, and then to empower the commission so that the commission can intervene the journalism's etiquettes and media houses in per se. So some of the things have been changed, and some of the good things has changed in the landscape of journalism and media perspective. But we have lot to go, long way to
Long way
go
to go. Yes.
to attain our achievement, to attain the goal of extreme freedom of expression. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Manisha. Thank you very much. I think there is a hope because you are going to face elections also very soon.
Yeah. Yes,
Maybe before that there could be a referendum. We don't know.
yes. I'm
There's a
hoping
big
it.
yes, big discussion. Let's go to Indonesia. Gema Gita. Gema, are you online with us? Can we ask the same question from you? What are the, because Indonesia is beautiful, huh? Because it's not ending, it's continuous. Every day there is a protest. So, what are the dynamics and how the freedom of expression is impacted?
Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Ranga, and thanks so much for having me and inviting our organization. So the youth participation, when we talk about the Gen Z protests lately, so in Indonesia, in terms of joining demonstration amongst the youth is not something new. It's always been popular. The youth are always joining the protest, not only the college students but also the school students. It has always been popular among them. So historically, student was central actors in major democratic turning points, and this pattern continues with Gen Z today. And the protest also forms. Protest forms are becoming diverse. So beyond the usual mass marches, young people are also exercising other forms of protests, such as we call it picnic melawan, or that means as resistance picnic. It was an occupation style of protest. They camped in front of the legislative gates office building and responding to the military bill earlier this year. It was an occupation style action initiated and led by the youth back in the day. So the protest and the involvement of the democratic situation and responding to political situation is always been popular among the youth in Indonesia. And at the end of this August, one of the biggest protests that happening again in Indonesia, and sadly there are more than 10 life victims. Thousands of school students attempted to join that one protest as well, but there are many of them never reached the protest site. Many of them got arrested by the police officers before reaching the protest sites. The school, the buses got stopped, and they intercepted by the police, and then yeah, and even the police arrested minors and stuff. So another thing about what the involvement of Gen Z in a democratic situation is not only present as protesters, they are also involved as legal aid providers, as a human rights defenders, as a campaigner, legal advocate, and stuff. So among them, maybe I will talk more about what's happening in Jakarta, since I live, stay, and work in Jakarta. But it's also happening in a broader area in Indonesia. So one of those human rights defenders, a young human rights defenders, is Del Pedro. He is a human rights defender. He is a lawyer and also an executive director of Lokataru Foundation. So late August, they the organization of Del Pedro made a complaint, or a channel for reporting and providing legal aid for the youth, or for the school students who intimidated or experience other intimidation or violence from the police. As a context, Del Pedro is also have consistently spoken against the injustices and democratic backsliding, as well as the violations of liberations, stuff like that. And that during late August protest, Del Pedro made the channel that I mentioned before, and shortly after launching this reporting channel, he and his colleagues were arrested by the police, and the authorities framed the legal aid in as an invitation to cause unrest. So they have been charged as a the authorities alleging them to doing the incitement stuff. So what I want to highlight here is the dynamics of the Gen Z protest is not only as a form of a protest participant itself, but once they also taking roles as a human rights defenders, defending their fellow youth, because they know how important it is to involve in this situation. So what I also want to pictures in this, what I want to capture in this situation is that even though
last 30 seconds. Huh?
okay, even though the students' protest has always been popular, but right now in today's moment, it's became expanding the awareness between the youth, so they're not only participate as protesters, but also human rights defenders and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe that's for
Thank you,
beginners.
Gema. I think also from comparing to other dynamics, Indonesia has a very unique case because for the last 1 year, twice the government of Indonesia backtracked their laws because of the Gen Z protests. First, Jokowi withdrew the law, and then the current president also withdrew the law or legal parameters to provide extra privileges to the MPs. So the country has a unique dynamic compared to Bangladesh or Nepal or even for Sri Lanka, where the government backtracked because of the protests, and then the government was survived. Let's come to Gema later after that, but let's go to Nepal. Ojaswi Bhattarai. Ojaswi, are you with us? She's a lawyer and also she's quite active participant of the Nepali protest movement which happened 2 months back. Ojaswi, are you with us? I can see you.
Yes, I am here.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Welcome.
Okay. So I'll be talking a little bit about Nepal's context, and I'll be talking about the cross-cutting of digital rights, social media ban, and freedom of speech and expression. While I am talking about the Gen Z protest context in Nepal, because there are also a lot of other issues like lack of accountability, corruption, and exclusion within the state institutions for a very long time that also comes in cross-cutting when we talk about the Gen Z protest in Nepal. So initially, we'll have to start talking about the social media bill that was being discussed in the parliament that was proposed by the government, which was a very problematic in sense that it had a lot of penalizing provisions for content that people would write or people would speak under a very broad definition of it being indecent or if it being harmful, and without a proper definition of what these terminologies mean, it would give a lot of discretion on the government to ban free speech. And this was already in terms of materializing where any content that would make fun of the politicians or the prime minister in power or anybody in general would be prosecuted. Even artists, if they were speaking against the government, were put in jail. Specifically, there was a lot of moral policing going on the basis of this older act, but then a new act was being introduced called social media bill, and it had a lot of problematic provisions. The queer communities were very much against it because it kept on targeting them, talking about indecent behavior. And then the Gen Z protest was actually very much fueled also by this Nepo baby trend that was popular in Philippines and that was also brought to Nepal. So
Which one?
Facebook,
Which one?
Instagram,
Can you repeat that word?
the Nepo baby trend.
Nepal.
Trend, Nepo. So it was like, so it was a criticism of how the children of politicians would flaunt their wealth at the expense of at the expense of the general people, of the public, and how it was the taxpayers' money that was being misused and abused that would finance the luxurious lifestyle of the politicians, and that got very viral. And in between that, while the social media bill was also talking about regulating and getting the social media organizations registered in Nepal, TikTok had already registered following the previous ban, but other social medias were not registering. Some of them were resisting because of the problematic provisions that were in the social media bill. Some of them were not registering out of their own reasons, which led to this sudden ban on all the social media platform in Nepal, which were not registered with Nepal. And there was a huge outcry about how this would curtail the freedom of speech. And then this Nepo baby trend, fueled by the social media ban, it got so big that everybody started talking about how all of us should come together against social media ban and against corruption before the Parliament House on September 8th. And this, so it was not a movement that was called by a couple of people. It was like a collective movement that did not see any one particular leaders, but all the youth took ownership of that protest and they came on the streets. And unfortunately, the protesters that came on the street were met with disproportionate violence and disproportionate use of force by the state. And even during the protest, there was the social media ban was still there, and that made a lot of communication a lot more tougher, which would have been avoided had there been social media. So a curfew was launched and nobody at the protest knew about it because the social media was banned at that point, and there was a lot of engaging of jamming of networks that had taken place during the protest when the state was cracking down against young peaceful protesters, when it started using bullets against protesters. So immediately after, we call it like a huge massacre of 21 people died on spot. 46 people reportedly died because of the state brutality using bullets against peaceful protesters. And so there was a huge outcry, which led to the next day's explosion of so much of anger that was against the system, against the regime that had been controlling power for a very long period of time without any significant contribution towards the development or upliftment of people or inclusion. And then, so this was there. The ban on social media was lifted at very late, even after the Council of Ministers, and there was anger with regards to that. And this later on led to a lot of new nuances in social media that we've never heard of in any international forum, to be honest. So our protest was fueled by the social media ban. It was led by the social media calling of everybody to come together and protest. And then after the aftermath of the protest, aftermath of everything that happened in the country on September 9, there was a huge discussion online as to who should be the leader of the country. And I think all of us have heard that we chose our leader over Discord, and there's a lot of criticism as to how that is very, very superficial way of choosing a leader, but it also shows how young people were really interested in who becomes the next leader of the country, feeling ownership about discussing qualifications of all the leaders that were potentially nominated. And despite there was a voting in Discord, our former Chief Justice became the Prime Minister. And right now, in the aftermath of the Gen Z protest, we're trying to institutionalize the protest, the demands of the protest, and one of the important institutionalization element is freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And there was a mandate that was submitted by all Gen Z groups that came together to the government, stating that this would be the mandate of the movement and it needs to be institutionalized later on in the legal system as well as the constitution of the country. And digital access, digital freedom, was one of the non-negotiable point in the mandate. And in the aftermath of this movement, in the aftermath of our new Prime Minister being reinstated, one problem that we're currently being very plagued by is the amount of misinformation and fake news campaigns that are plaguing the social media and trying to change a narrative, trying to build a different narrative. We've always had a very irresponsible media in terms of not fact-checking their content well. That is why in the second day of the protest, 2 of the major media houses in the country were also burnt down.
Can we
Yes.
conclude in 30 seconds?
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
for sure. And then, so I think there's a very huge discussion in Nepal on how to find a balance between restricting free speech and also institutionalizing it in a way that we do not let fake news and wrong messages and false narratives and very problematic narratives that the media is right now very much covering to discredit the Gen Z movement as well. So finding and striking a fine balance between this has been a challenge for us who want to integrate a policy that also fights fake news while protecting civil expression. And I think that's what the government is also currently very struggling with.
Thank you, Ojasvi. Very elaborative and very alarming that the mainstream media also became a target of these movements, both in Nepal and Bangladesh. Media houses were burnt down, journalists were attacked, they were labeled as traitors. So let's talk about it and how your organization or individually you try to help journalists here. Before coming to Aftab, give me 30 seconds, Aftab. I think we have Paco here from Philippines. Paco is one of our colleagues. Paco, can you in 30 seconds explain the Nepo baby word to us, because it started from Philippines?
Hi, Ranga. I wasn't expecting this. No, just to quickly, I think it was explained by the speaker quite well earlier.
Yes,
But yeah, here in the Philippines, really it was the children of the politicians, right,
yes,
who flaunting their wealth and flaunting their privilege, despite the lesser, quality of life of normal citizens. And it really, I think, speaks to the normalization of this sort of unfairness and injustice.
yeah.
And social media really served as an amplifier for this, the Nepo baby trend that was being discussed
So there
earlier.
is a movement in the Philippines as well, is it?
Yes, so this also sparked ongoing activism, and a big rally was held last month and again just a few days ago, demanding accountability from government officials for corruption. And this was, yeah, very much sparked by online trends and this Nepo
Fantastic.
baby trend that was mentioned earlier.
Thank you, Paco. Thank you very
All
much.
right, all right,
Thank you
Ranga.
bringing this dynamic from Philippines. Aftab,
Yes.
from the cold Islamabad.
Yes,
Uh,
thank you very much. Thank you very much. And
yes,
it's indeed a privilege to be part of this forum,
yes,
and also a privilege to be part of IMS partners because they have been providing us quite an opportunity to work on these issues as well.
yeah.
Um, well, the situation or the circumstances in Pakistan are slightly different from Bangladesh and Nepal, as we don't have student unions in the country as probably Bangladesh and Nepal had. So we have a ban on student unions since 1984, I guess. So the students are somehow out of the politics in de jure terms.
Mm,
But on the other hand, we have quite a few similarities with them. The youth here is also quite discontented with with what is happening at the top level in the government or the political system. And we also need to keep in mind that we have around 60% of our population aging between 15 to 35, which is
mm,
like, the real Gen Z.
mm,
And majority of them are actually digital native in terms of having access to internet.
mm,
So therefore, in this region, probably after India, Pakistan has the largest Gen Z population, if I'm not wrong in saying this. However, the issue is that in Pakistan, this Gen Z is so far not in front of any political movement or leading any direct political movement. However, they had been part of and they are part of a number of political movements led by many other stakeholders. Like I can quote a few of them. For example, we had this Pashtun Tahaffuz movement, which was
mm,
being run by people from the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and erstwhile FATA region that is in between Afghanistan and Pakistan.
mm,
Then we recently had seen this Baloch Yakdiyati Committee, which is about a movement led by young women in Balochistan for the issue of missing person. And this PTM, the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement, was all about demilitarization of FATA region. Then we have also this interesting case of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, PTI,
mm,
which claimed to be the party of youth, which claimed to be the party of young people. And these three movements, if we take it as a sample, they had been quite vibrant and quite active on internet and social media, and majority of their workers are from the youth bulge.
mm,
So, but what had happened over the years is that all three major political movements, I would say, PTM is no more visible at the moment. Probably it has been crushed by the establishment or the government in a very crude manner. Bloch Jakyati Committee is also facing the similar situation. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf or PTI is going through a tough time after this issue of 9th of May in 2024, when the party attacked the military installations and the buildings after arrest of Imran Khan. So all three movements, we have seen that they are going through a tough time, despite the fact that Gen Z was kind of playing a significant role in these movements. And as a result of these three movements we have seen, and I can also mention one more, I would say, movement, that is Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan. It's a religious right-wing extremist group which had emerged in 2014-15 from Lahore, and they started campaigning for Sharia law in the country, and they were like really, hardliners, and they were also having a massive youth support, and they were having huge social media presence as well. But even if we see the aftermath of all these four movements, we see that as a result of these movements, uh, the government has misused the colonial legacy of Section 144 to curb their political movements. Section 124 A of Pakistan, the penal code, which is sedition, that has been massively used against them. We had another very notorious law called maintenance of public order. It has been massively used by the administration to keep people behind the bars. And moreover, in recent times, the government has amended the existing PICA law, which was initially enacted in 2016, and that even that one was quite problematic, has now been amended in 2025, and this has virtually criminalized the speech in this country.
But Aftab, are the youth quite cross-cutting active? I understand they are politically camped into political camps, but cross-cutting, are they active on social media? And what about the disinformation and they as
yes, I mean, majority of the youth are, you can see all over the places. They are not restricted only to one group or the two group. You would see a massive presence of youth in even with the political parties who are currently ruling or claiming to be in the power. Even the military has managed to bring in a huge number of youth into their kind of a circle, and had engaged them to maybe, in the name of countering disinformation, they are actually spreading propaganda with the support of ISPR. So youth is all over the places. But again, the difference is that maybe in Nepal and Bangladesh, they were in the front and they were leading the movements. Here, they are part of various groups. They are also part of pro and anti-establishment groups. But the issue is that at the moment,
can you complete in
just a couple of seconds. So now we have this, draconian PICA law. We have also recently seen, according to Amnesty International report, that the government has finally put in place the firewall, the Chinese model of firewall, which consists of LIMS, web management system, DPI, and then government was also trying to initiate the process of registration of VPNs, but finally they stopped this idea, probably because of its non-practicability. So the issue is that currently there's a massive censorship on internet as well as on the broadcast media. The TV channels are completely submissive to what government is saying to them. Internet is being very minutely surveilled and monitored. Even our colleagues who are part of our legal aid forum, they are facing legal and criminal charges in the courts. Our friend Iman Hazar Mazari and her husband, they are being charged under the criminal law. So many other journalists are also facing criminal charges under the PICA law and various other laws. So the overall situation is really, really problematic when it comes to freedom of expression. Thank you.
Thank you, Aftab. Very useful and interesting developments. Very unique situation in Pakistan as well compared to other. Yes. Let's invite Dr. Viranjana Herath, the Executive Director or Head of Media Law Forum, Sri Lanka. Viranjana, can we hear you on situation on Sri Lanka? Because all these protest movements started from Sri Lanka in 2022. So we were the pioneers here for these recent protest movements. So Viranjana, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. The thing is that, as Dr. Ranga correctly mentioned, Sri Lanka was the initiative, movement from the South Asian and the East Asian protest movements. So, however, I don't like in my opinion, that we are just generalize this is as Gen Z protest movements. But in Sri Lanka, it is. I am not. I cannot say it is totally Gen Z. It's the role of Gen Z was very important, no doubt about that. There is no confusion about that one. But the contribution of the Gen Z was very high. But the millennials and other groups, even the without age limits, the protest was like that in Sri Lanka. That is the one of the biggest, difference between the Nepali and Bangladesh movements. The other thing is that in Sri Lanka, that it was too long. I mean that it is also there are some reasons, economic crisis. That we have a kind of we had big issues like that shortage of fuel, then some food items. There was a
Yeah.
so because of huge queues, we in recent I think that protest came erupted like a volcano suddenly, but it is not the result is not like that Bangladesh and Nepal, because Bangladesh and Nepal it generally Bangladesh and Nepal it was am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Bangladesh and Nepal, it was, result came with very short period. I mean, that protests started and they within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I think 1 month in
Bangladesh
Bangladesh,
6
but in
weeks,
Nepal within 2, 3
Nepal
days.
48,
Yes,
72 hours.
yes.
72 hours, yes.
Yeah, 72 hours. But Sri Lanka was not like that. It takes months. It takes
Yeah.
months, right? It took months. So because of that, we have some difference. The other thing is that protest movement is like not only for the I cannot I don't like to narrative that it's an issue of the freedom of uh, as I earlier mentioned, there are social and economic issues. These were the main issue. So finally, what happened? I can say the Sri Lankan, however, that Sri Lankan protest, the base of the all the communication, it is went through the online. That is the important part in this video, because in the mainstream media, right? Mainstream media have not supported to this protest movement. This is how a majority of the population against this economic crisis and whatever the issues they face. It has not been supported by the mainstream media, except 2 TV channels, as I remember, and maybe one small piece given by the newspapers. It's overall based on the majority the protest movements based on the social media, which they create specific hashtags and then share to the uh, mm, online platforms, especially the messaging apps like WhatsApp, and then Facebook, then Twitter. These were the main channels. So because of that, even that in Sri Lanka, I have to say that in very rarely we use that internet shutdown. I mean that total shutdowns, right? Not like in South Asia, it is a kind of good aspects. I have to say that. So, however, there were some efforts in the meantime, because that those days that government identified there were some issues in the online platform. This is the main channel. They try to even shut down the internet, but it was not allowed even by the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka there that time. They
Yeah.
also not, but because of that one, it was not there. Finally, though that we experienced finally regime change. That regime change also we have to say that it is different rather than Bangladesh and Nepal, because they elected the interim leaders and then interim governments, that kind of approaches in Nepal and Bangladesh both. But Sri Lanka was not like that, right? We created we had a new president, but the kind of old wine in the one new cabinet, but in the same parliament we established a new government. That was our approach. So because of that, in that sense, we can say there is it was successful to some extent. Sri Lankan struggle was uprising was successful from their point of view, but it was not fully. I mean that it's not fully successful like Bangladesh. I mean successful. Don't misunderstand it. Says I'm not going to be the so successful or not, but the movement of the I mean the aim of the protesters view, it is not fully successful in Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka comparatively in Nepal and Bangladesh. So there was some issues in burned politicians' house in that media stations because of that behavior that mainstream media stations was they
Ranjana, you
went
are
to the
breaking.
TV stations and government TV stations and private media also been they not burnt. That is one of the things. The house,
Mm.
right? It was there. So finally, uh, I had to say that because of that, in that time there was a suppression also going on before that change. Even after the regime change, after the that government change of the government, the suppression was the one of the main thing. It was
Mm.
suppressive laws. Even we have that anti-terrorism law PTA, then cybersecurity has been used to suppress the protesters and suppress the voices of the protesters. It was there, and our organization, I can say that my colleague Prabodh Ratnayake involved in some court cases and the legal interventions we
Yeah,
done.
Viranjana, with that, can you let's start the second round also. If you can, elaborate in 2 minutes. What did you do as an organization to protect freedom of expression, and also what should be done? Very quick input from you.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. So what I can say that as organization, we
Can you switch off your camera? Can you switch off your
we
camera? You are
provided
breaking.
legal assistance, right? Actually, at that time we were not sure. Yeah. Is it okay now?
Now it's okay. Yes, go ahead.
There is some connection in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Go
okay.
ahead now.
So the issue is that we provided legal assistance. That what we need. That we have a kind of a still we are running that one. We have a 24-hour hotline. And any person who is subjected to a violation of freedom of speech and expression, he can reach us. Then in those days also we have received some complaints. So also in proactively we also involved. Especially my colleague Prabodh Ratnayake, he visited courts and the provide legal assistance, and with some of other support of our lawyers we took. But apart of that our side, then there was lawyers in commonly were legally help to the people, the protesters. But as an organization, we also played a role like that, provide legal assistance. I mean, that is the main thing we can do as an organization. But also, in other hand, we have to say that because of this, the role of online space, Sri Lanka enacted a new law. New law, we can say that Online Safety Act. Under the Online Safety Act, it was actually whatever that mentioned by my Nepali colleague. This issues, I mean, same wording, same issues, same jail terms, same kind of a things introduced by the same kind of a law introduced in Sri Lanka. It is still we are it is the, now it's kind of a law, uh, though fully not fully implemented by some kind of government policies. However, it is a part of law in Sri Lanka now. So because of that, we need to that's a huge issue now. These kind of laws people don't know, because now the media is not a, I mean, that because of the online platform, media is not a subject of the professional journalist only. So the normal people, ordinary people also become kind of a journalist, a citizen journalist, or whether we can give any other name. So we need to improve literacy, because if not, then they will be subjected to the suppression. So because of that, we have a very big huge part to improving the legal literacy about this kind of a suppressive laws, then how to use online platforms to free expression.
Good.
Because I can conclude like this: online platforms should have with us, because if not, we are not able to voice make our voice, raise our voice. But it should be some kind of a regulation process. So in that sense, we can provide legal
Yeah.
assistance, network. Also, we can improve the legal literacy. But I think collectively we can do one thing, other thing also, because of in this sense, I'm always saying that we are kind of a global, upper global South nations like Sri Lanka, Nepal, Pakistan. We are not even global South, right? We lower global South. Sorry for the word. That lower global South. We need some kind of a deal with the have a kind of agreement with the online platforms, because they treat us very badly. They ignored us. So how we we are going to deal with this kind of issues? Because misinformation, disinformation, hate speech. The hate speech in other countries is not like the First Amendment protection like US. So we have to find our path. So I mean, in that sense, in that perspective, we can give legal assistance, we can provide legal assistance, also advocacy, networking, and also beyond the countries, we need a regional network, regional collaboration to share our experience, also deal with the online platforms. And there are so many things we can do together.
Thank you, Viranjana. Excellent.
I think my time
Very
is
good.
over.
Yes, very good. But you made
you.
the point. Let Manisha take the floor now. Manisha, what did Blast do during the protest and after this for to protect freedom of expression? One thing was clear from all presenters: the legacy media was sidelined, or legacy media was ignored, or legacy media was paralyzed, or legacy media was attacked as a traitor, as an opposition party. Social media platforms, the online space dominated the protest movement. That's what I understood from all presenters. Manisha, 2 minutes, very quickly. What did Blast do? And what is Blast doing now in Bangladesh? And what should have been done?
Thank you so much. I think Blast is one of the most proactively vigilant organizations in terms of freedom of expression. When it comes to cyber security ordinance 2023 personal data protection ordinance, before so the former government were planning to draft the data protection act. So we have been constant critics of these kinds of laws, and as a legal aid organization, we have been providing legal aids to the journalists and to the people who are being persecuted by these kinds of draconian laws. So that was being our constant advocacy and activities, and so to say. So after the regime fall, after the movement, as I have mentioned, that the government have proposed reform commissions, and the Media Reform Commission was one of them. And Blast has also worked closely with the Media Reform Commission and tried to reflect some of our recommendations to the Media Reform Commissions as well. And as I have mentioned, that the two laws that's the first, the Journalist Rights Protection Ordinance, that's the first of its kinds in Bangladesh to be introduced in Bangladesh to protect and safeguard the journalist ethics and code of conduct and journalist and try to give a safeguard by the law. So Blast has been a constant proactively putting the recommendations, proactively out there with our experiences and legal minds to push the government or push the recommendation reform commission to shape the law so that they could actually serve the journalists in their way. And the other thing is that now we are planning to do is we are trying to, as you have mentioned, that election is knocking our door. Maybe is everything go all right in February, we are going to face an election. So at that point of time, maybe the journalists maybe face some backlashes. So that we having in our mind, we are trying to keep you know trying to have our colleagues ready so that we could provide our legal aids to the journalists who will be persecuted or who will be in threat of freedom of expression. And other thing is that we are trying to work with other organizations to sensitize the journalists as well in terms of what are the legal frameworks available in Bangladesh to get the help, and what are the ambit of the freedom of expression in Bangladesh, so that they could be actually sensitized about how they could report or how they could narrate the story. So these are the work that Blast is doing right now, and we are trying to actually explore the area of this freedom of expression, as there is online platform being involved right now. So let's see where we go, but we are the constant vigilant and constant critic of government in terms of laws and in terms of advocacy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manisha. Gema from Indonesia. LBH Pers is very active on with safety committee of journalists as well, and also working with the press council. So Gema, please, your interventions here in Indonesia.
Yeah. So, since our core work is providing legal aid for journalists, but not only for journalists, actually, we also providing legal aid for general civilians whose freedom of expression being violated by both actors, state actors or non-state actors. So that's what we do, especially during this current situation, responding to the situation after the mass protest back in August. I also join in, just like what Ranga have mentioned before, we also part of the safety committee for journalists, and we also a part of a team advocacy for democracy. It's a collective team of lawyers and non-lawyers that actively giving legal aid for protesters that being arrested and stuff. So regarding the latest protest, just like what I've elaborated before earlier, we are currently handling cases in represent handling the case of the criminalization of young activists, and along with other coalitions. So we formed a broad coalition. That is one of the things that we see as an important things, because when we do works collectively, we also gain more power. And besides that, I also see that there are at least two main problems of freedom of expressions. The first one is the excessive use of force of the police. And the second one is the existence of the problematic articles that can be used abusively to criminalize people, like journalists, civilians, human rights defenders.
It's already happening now. Huh?
Yeah, it's already happening now. So what we do responding to that situation is, first, we always push for the police reform, clearer protocols for police handling journalists or civilians in general, and also we're pushing the accountability mechanism for excessive force. But sadly, just like 2 days ago, we just passed another problematic law, that is a criminal code procedure bill that has been rejected since years ago, but they still passed it. But regarding the potentially abusive article, we also actively filing a judicial review in the Constitutional Court for many articles that can be potentially used abusively, of course. And those two things are our main effort currently.
Thank you, Gema. Thank you very much. Since we are running now out of time now, let's quickly go to Nepal. I think Bikash is there to join us from Nepal, from Lawyers Forum for Human Rights in Nepal. Bikash?
So hi, namaste once again.
Yes.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much, my colleague Ojasvi Bhattarai, for setting background on Nepal's Gen Z protest and the situation of freedom of expression. As you know, that Nepal Advocacy Forum is a lawyers forum working for human rights and for the past 25 years. So the major work that we work is on documentation of human rights violations. So we think that the recent political transformation in Nepal has opened new opportunities for advancing reform and that accountability issues at the moment. Considering the recent change that one of the expert areas that we work is on the documentation of human rights violations. the excessive use of force, that we also met some of the detainees that were detained during the protest. So we met the detainees and document the cases of there. And we also met, some of the detainees in that child reform homes, so who were allegedly involved in committing some of the crimes during that protest. So one of the major areas that is we document the case and provide that legal counseling, legal aid to that needy people. That is one thing. So you also, at the same time, you also document that threats and intimidations. Provided to the journalists, human rights defenders, and other people that other people. So along with this, that you have been monitoring the recent, monitoring the work of the inquiry commission that is formed under the under the under the leadership of that former attorney. So we are closely monitoring that process. That are two things, and also that we have we have also felt that there is a need of the work, especially on that like policy reforms. So research, and that we are also doing a research on the recent Gen Z protest, and then so connecting with that accountability issues, so linking with the past and the present. That is so one thing that, and we also see this as an opportunity. So we also engage that youth, especially the Gen Z, so to prepare some of the policy policy reforms. For example, that we have been working on that police reforms document, public administration reforms, political party reforms, judicial reforms. So one of the major issues that why there was Gen Z protest is because of the deep-rooted culture of inaccountability, deep-rooted culture of impunity that existed for many years in Nepal. So at the same time, that we also felt there is a need of engaging with that diaspora media persons, because as we have already discussed, that there was both positive and negative contributions of people that so who were so doing this sort of work from abroad. So engaging with this with the diaspora media person, journalists, and human rights defenders to understand that deep-rooted of impunity, deep-rooted culture of impunity in Nepal, and so to contribute to build accountability on human rights violations. So recently, what we have also felt is engaging with the youth people. So what Advocacy Forum is doing in the past many years, that we've been working with the victims of human rights violations that happened 10 years, that happened in the past, but they're at to receive that truth and justice after 20 years of that comprehensive peace accord. So we also engage with that victims community, young leaderships, so that the accountability issues will be prominent in the future. So in the past, that you also engage with that journalists to deepen their understanding on the human rights and accountability issues, that through that media fellowship that existed for the past many years. You wanted me to
very quickly, because thank you very much, but very quickly, you're also facing elections very soon.
Yes.
What are your plans for elections?
So we are facing that elections, if everything goes well, that is planned for March 26th, and the government is trying to ensure that safety and security and that environment for that election. So as recently, there are also classes that happening in different parts of the country between the Gen Z protest and that measured traditional political parties. So many political parties have been registered in that National Election Commission. So for this, that we're also trying to engage with the journalist. So engage with the journalist, and then engage with the journalist, and also teach them that safety and security measures, that how we can do that. The safety is that safety and security is also meant. And we're also working with that political manifesto, so capturing some of the essence of the Gen Z protest, some of the recommendations of the Gen Z protest. Engaging with that young people, engaging with the journalist, and that paving way for the upcoming elections. and that creating some sort of like very youth focused that content. So building that accountability and human rights are some of the priority areas. So just to add that one sentence, that so one of the previous government had also introduced that NGO registration bill, which was very much problematic, and that it wanted to regulate, it wanted to control, in fact, control that the work of NGOs and INGOs.
Yeah.
So it also hampered like our work. So there are a lot of like efforts from the previous government to curtail that freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and that uh, uh, and and uh, and these issues were like very much less prioritized in the past.
Thank you, Vikash. Thank you very much. Very comprehensive. Aftab, very quick input from you about your
Yes.
intervention in Pakistan.
Well, we are currently doing three things. One is a research, second is the advocacy, and third one is actually supporting journalists in distress. So in terms of research, we have recently conducted a 10 years review of our media laws. And this has covered more than 20 legal instruments, acts of the parliament, rules and regulations. It also covered around 60 plus, 70 plus cases adjudicated by the Supreme Court and High Courts, as well as hundreds of administrative actions taken by the government in terms of freedom of expression. So we have done this work covering past 10 years to show what had happened so far in terms of the overall situation. So that covers the entire review side. In terms of advocacy, we are having this Forum for Digital Rights and Democracy, which was launched last year, both with the support of IMS and UNESCO. And this is a forum of civil society, academia, and media, including journalists, to facilitate the multi-stakeholder dialogue on issues of freedom of expression, raise awareness among the general public, as well as continue advocacy on the issue of freedom of expression and these media regulatory framework. Then the actual support on the field is our legal aid cell, which is operational since 2020. It was launched with the support of Global Media Defense Fund at the moment. And so far we have supported more than 100 journalists in at various levels in their court cases and legal challenges. Even our own members of the committee and cell are somehow facing legal challenges in the courts. Two of our colleagues are facing, as I already mentioned. So we are trying to do these three things. But for future, we think that we need to have a kind of regional collaborative approach, as my colleague Dr. Varanjana mentioned. I think we need to have a kind of regional forum where we can have opportunity to share our learnings with each other, maybe some success stories from each other, and we should also be able to connect with each other by sharing our situation with each other. Then in Pakistan, we are also campaigning for effective implementation of journalist protection laws, because we are probably the first country in the region which has journalist protection legislation at two levels, one at the federal level and in the Sindh province. And then recently we have started working with the journalism schools and law schools in terms of creating media and information literacy and issues of freedom of expression. So these are the things which I just wanted to mention.
Yes, thank you, Aftab. I think Pakistan experience in bringing media safety law will be very useful to Bangladesh, because as Bangladesh is also bringing in, Manisha said about this law, so there could be good opportunity to collaborate between the two organizations.
We'll be more than happy to share our experience.
Yes, that's why. That's the intention of this webinar also, to
Always
link
welcome.
each other. Now you know each other, so this forum is created. So I think let's have about 5 to 10 minutes, very quick questions. If anybody in the audience have questions, anybody want to pose a question to any of the panelists here, please switch on your mic and introduce yourself and pose a question. We will have about another 5 to 10 minutes maximum. Anyone want to start? Henrik or Lars? or anybody in the audience, in the group? If not,
I think we have comprehensively briefed them,
yeah.
so they don't
There's a
feel any
question. Did
any
Sri
need
Lanka
to ask any
successfully achieve
question.
the
Yeah,
co-objective of the Aragalaya after the
yeah.
protests? From Vishnu. Uh, Maybe Viranjana can answer that. From being a Sri Lankan, also I can say, well, yes and no both. The biggest the
Give
request
a
of the
very
protest.
brief answer that
Yes,
Sri Lanka successfully achieved the co-objective of the Aragali after the protest.
yes.
Uh, if we see that, suppose we can say to some extent, but the main objective of the Aragalia, the uprising, we can narrow down it as they need, system change, right? It is the kind of a demand, that immediate demand. They will need some kind of a political solution to the economic crisis and other thing. It was there, but the long term is
System
a
change is
system
not there.
change. Yeah, system change is not there, but but you can see to some extent, because that 70 years up since the independence, Sri Lanka has been ruled by the two parties, or the two party related, the coalitions. But new party with the new coalition, it came power after 2 years. After 2 years of the that uprising. But I personally believe, and also some scholars, right, that that change that change also came because of the as a result of the uprising, because they what the hate of the
Yeah,
people against these traditional political parties came through the elections,
yeah.
right?
Um,
But cannot, frankly speaking, we are not able to see the system
no, I
change
don't
till
think
the
so.
date. That is the
So there is
my
yeah,
opinion. It is because a kind of opinion, kind of a answer I'm
yeah.
giving, because we cannot not like I mean that we cannot
No,
say
no.
it is as a very
Yeah.
concrete answer. Dr.
After
Angad, can
Yeah,
anything if
you
yeah,
have any response
yeah.
to that? Yes.
There is a question
yeah.
with reference to Pakistan, and I wanted to respond to that. The
Okay.
question is that how have legal restrictions, media policies, and digital regulations affected Gen Z activism and protest spaces in Pakistan? Well, the recent development, particularly in the amendments in the PICA law and other legislative developments, have resulted in a massive, I would say, censorship even in the digital spaces or the online spaces. For example, the mainstream TV channels and newspapers have already blacked out the protest being, initiated by PTM or Balochi Akhtiyati movement or any other smaller group or regional group. Or even on the digital media, if these protests are being reported, we have seen a series of criminal cases filed against those who have been supporting those protests or are trying to support those protests in the online spaces. So overall, the space for protest, both in the real or the physical world, as well as online spaces, have reduced and kind of really shrunk, particularly during past 2 years.
Yeah. There's another. Gitmi is asking, are there any successful examples of collective protection models where communities safeguard each other online that can be replicated across Asian region? Manisha, you want to reply?
I think that's a very interesting question and it's a very difficult question to answer. But so I don't know what I'm going to say quite a response to the answer, but question. But what in Bangladesh, what we have seen is that the protest itself was a safeguard mechanism for to also to address these kinds of differences, these kinds of violations of rights. So, but what we have seen that when the blackout happened, and there is no other mode of communication, the students get some Bluetooth connections and some app or some VPN or other way around to get everyone in touch, so that they could spread messages, so that they could actually touch on with everyone, are they safe or not. So that could be a experience from our side,
Yeah.
how they manage to be on the streamline and be on the same stand in when the blackout has happened. And in terms of the journalist or media house, I would say that when the Digital Security Act was proposed, or Cyber Security Act was proposed, a massive discussion were around the law, and that was happened by the journalists, by the media
Yeah.
house itself. So and that actually ignite a whole discussion about the law, and research reports, papers that says that these law are being used against the journalists, are being used to curtail the freedom of expression.
Yeah.
So these are the examples that
Mm.
Bangladesh has seen
Mm.
in our past histories and in some past couple of years. Yeah, to safeguard
Yeah.
the
Get
freedom.
me. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, Manisha. Get me a very quick answer from me. I mean, with my experience of all these countries, my with experiences with from this country, but the best protection model that was in place was Sri Lanka at a earlier time, where there was a huge legal defense system, especially with these lawyers who are present here as well. I can see Prabodha, Viranjan is there. There was like massive legal defense system, and also constant coordination with the tech platforms by other groups. I don't know how to mention the names. So there was a very unpublished system of mechanism that created as a protection model. It was not very formal model, but it's a very loose system, but it worked very well. K. Sharma is asking how Pakistan responded. Yes.
Yeah.
Anand Chakma.
Ranga,
Yes.
we also had kind of similar system which Sri Lankan had in terms of legal defense. So the Pakistan Bar Council, PFUJ, both formed a committee called Journalist Defense Committee that was housed at Irada. And we are continuously working under that platform, though it is not that effective as it used to be in 2022, 2023. But it was a kind of collective effort of the stakeholders where the lawyers and the journalists sat together, they formed this committee, and they were working more in a very informal way rather than a very formal manner. And we were able to manage the vindication of 26 journalists who were facing criminal charges under PICA at that time, as well as we were able to successfully get a judgment from the High Court, which had a direction to enact a specialized law for journalist protection. So that was a
Excellent.
kind of very
Yeah.
successful model as well. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much for sharing that. Anand Chakma is asking what role did social media platforms play during these protests? And is it accurate to label them as Gen Z protests? Although Gen Z presents less than 30% of the population, the demonstrations occurred across the entire country. If so, how were other age groups involved while Gen Z appeared to be at the forefront? Maybe without taxing too much on this panelists, I think I will give you a quick answer. You're perfectly correct. We are not generalizing it to entire Asia. We cannot. Gema, I think it's entirely youth. It's not even Gen Z, sometimes Gen Alpha coming to the street in Indonesia. And even Bangladesh, it was youth. Sri Lanka, it was not Gen Z at all, entirely, as Viranjana said. It's very contextual. I don't think we can generalize it as Gen Z to entire Asia. It's based on context. And of course, demonstrations occurred across the country. But um, who triggered this in Indonesia, in Bangladesh, in Nepal, and also even Sri Lanka to great extent is Gen Z. We cannot ignore the fact that. Anybody want to have a quick input for that? Maybe 1 minute. Gema?
Yeah, I think it's also important to highlight who initiate or who triggers the movements, and we cannot deny that it mostly came from the Gen Z. Yeah, just like what I mentioned before in my presentation time, there are so many forms of protest that was initiated by the Gen Z, and people in general, other group of youth are also interested to involve as well. So yeah, I'm in the same stance with Ranga.
Yeah. To save time, let's go for the last question. Very interesting. Sakuna, one of our friends in Sri Lanka. AI driven surveillance and facial recognition technologies are increasingly used to track protesters. But policy or legal frameworks can curb such abuses without hindering innovation. And he's also asking how seriously is disinformation targeting Gen Z activists affecting public opinion, and what counter strategies have been successful. And with Gen AI accelerating misinformation, what responsibility should social media platforms bear in protecting civil discourse with the new developments? Wow. Yes, anybody want to take it for 2 minutes? From the legal perspective, please.
May I?
Yes, Viranjana.
Yes, very interesting. But this is the issue, right? We have to uh, uh, discuss and lesson learn from the others, experts. Even the developed countries, so-called developed countries, also struggling how to handle this kind of issues, right? Face recognition is there, the right to privacy is there. Then also AI is also needed in US. In investing billions of dollars to develop AI. So it is actually we are in a desert, right? We don't know how to find. There are even the UN systems, then rights, human rights approach. But the one thing we have to understand that we need AI development. We cannot reject now that we have to adapt. But in the meantime, we have to find ways to go for the human rights. So UN Business and Human Rights framework, it is good for deal with the platforms. Also, that's why what we mentioned earlier. Also, we cannot find out the solutions, the legal solutions, legal solution is not the sole solution for that one. This is no only legal frameworks or new introducing new laws. It's not the solution for this kind of a matters. Whatever in the tunnel now. So we have to find collaborative approach. That's why we are saying that I earlier said that literacy, improving media literacy, then collaborative networks with the going with the platforms. We have to find kind of a holistic approach. The legal restrictions cannot address this issue. That's my point of view. Even though I am a lawyer, I can. So the law is not the solution. The solution. I think Aftab can add some any other
Before Aftab, I want to before
thoughts.
Aftab, yeah, thank you, Viranjan. Before Aftab, I want to listen to Ojasvi from Nepal.
I think that is a very interesting question that Sapna has been asking, because these are the questions that we tackle back at home as well. And one particular example for us for when we were doing it is initially when we were talking about so there was a lot of misinformation against one person that was nominated for the minister from the Gen Z movement in the cabinet, and her nationality was questioned, and her geopolitical affiliations were questioned, and we did not have any proper legal frameworks that would help battle that. But how we dealt with it was there was an aggressive anti misinformation campaign, a lot of social media mobilization that we undertook to help challenge that. The second question is very important right now, because right now the police is catching Gen Z protesters and prosecuting them, and it's doing it on the basis of identifying these pictures through AI, and even a lot of digital content were circulated. I honestly, I think it's quite a legal battle for us right now, because we've tried to ask the government. We're lobbying with the government to stop the police from arresting protesters right away, and to have a proper investigation commission consisting of digital experts, AI experts that would help us understand how to tackle these events before arresting anyone, because right now a lot of human rights violations by the police when arresting Gen Z protesters are coming across. And I would really love to hear from this esteemed diaspora as to how these problems are being tackled in other countries as well. We are really struggling in Nepal, I feel.
Very quick one to other speakers. Aftab, you want to add? There are
Yes,
two more.
just a quick comment in support of my friend Branjana. I would be the last person to ask the government to legislate in order to stop disinformation. It would be almost equivalent to giving them a new reason to curb your freedom of expression online or in whatever the way. So therefore, in my view, law should not be used, law is not the solution here for when it comes to disinformation, but this AI-driven surveillance and facial recognition, this issue is really, really problematic and critical. We don't have data protection legislation in Pakistan. We don't have privacy law in Pakistan. So in that situation, we are entering into this situation where our big cities are being, equipped with these safe city projects where the governments are installing like hundreds and thousands of cameras all over the places. And all those cameras are having the ability to recognize the faces, and then AI will be making the other thing. So that is a very problematic, but that requires a holistic approach, not only the legal one. It requires social, political, and academic approach collectively to figure out what to do and how to handle it.
Yes, I think we have to wind up now. We have gone about 28 minutes more, but let me finish this excellent discussion with the answer to this Isbahan Shafdin's question: political stability versus Gen Z, these protests, how these quick changes are affecting our countries. This is a major issue now. Of course, we have seen these youth come onto street. They want new country. They want new system. They need system change. They chase away presidents. They chase away prime ministers. They change the governments, and they go back home. And as Viranjana said, the old wine get into the new bottle. We are at the same. Look at Bangladesh. Look at Nepal. Look at Sri Lanka. Who is coming back to governance? The same old wine comes onto the table. And where are these protesters? Do they understand democracy? Do they understand the very deep issue of governance? Which role do they play in the entire system of governance after the protest movement? So this is the $1 million question we are trying to answer. We cannot disagree for the protesters. The protesting is a democratic right. They are protesting for democracy, or they are protesting for good governance. They are protesting for better systems. That's their right. But as one of the questions asked, is it successful? Are we meeting the demands? Who is capturing the power after the protests? So Manisha is smiling. We are also smiling, Manisha, because we are in the same boat. We will see more and more protests now because people are connected. People are active now. We have seen major issue here of mainstream media is becoming a passive engagement tool here. The very instrument that should lead the public has become a passive element, which is mainstream media. Social media has taken over with disinformation, with hate speech. So this is what we have to struggle. I think we had a fantastic discussion. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for accepting our invitation. and being here for 30 minutes extra. I really, really hope these organizations will collaborate with each other. And as Aftab and Viranjan and other speakers highlighted, let's create a common platform to collaborate, to learn from each other, share experiences, and also imagine if Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, these countries are huge markets, even for social media companies. So if we get together, we can do wonders. So let's continue this discussion, collaboration. Thank you very much. This was supposed to be only among these 5 organizations, but Media Law Forum wanted to make it public. We had 35 participants. That's fantastic. Thank you very much again. And let's meet in another forum. And as Dulmini mentioned, this recordings will be uploaded to Media Law Forum websites. And maybe you can share them with the other organizations also, Dulmini, with Irada, Blast. They can also publish the content in their websites. That's part of collaboration here. So thank you very much. Let's continue. We'll coordinate and continue collaboration. Thank you very much. Thank you, Media Law Forum, for organizing this.
Thank you all. Thank you, Ranga.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I
Thank you
have,
very
I have
Thank
made
you
a
all.
comment. I have
Thank
made
you,
a
Ranga,
comment.
for
I saw
being a
that.
wonderful
Read that.
host.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Bikash.
Thank you very much. Namaste.
Namaste. Yes.